Crashed on planet Mega.
On the next all-new episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
It's bad. It's really bad. You have no idea how bad it is. Oh no, hamster attack.
Why are they so resilient?
This seems pretty bad.
Dragon Ball Daima. Next Saturday at midnight. Only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Dawn to Dawn.
I have to get stronger.
Takakura. You're a demon, and I'm a human, and I know this is totally wrong, but...
I'm not a demon.
This feeling is too strong! Stay still. This'll just take a second.
Why?
Dawn to Dawn. New episode next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. on Toonami.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Toonami Therapy. Today, on August 28th of 2025, I am Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And I guess we can just get right into our podcast where we cover Toonami, anime, and sometimes even other things. By which I mean, other things other than all the tangents that we always get off on. Not so much this episode, probably, but I mean, we'll be doing the tangents, of course, probably, but not the non-tangent other stuff. This is also the podcast where I try to make some sort of joke at the start and then end up feeling kind of goofing up awkwardly. All right, so we start out Dragon Ball Daima, episode 10. So remember how we what happened? So the bad guys made this new monster called Majin Ku, who fights a guy but then loses. So then we cut over to Goku's and his group. They end up having to fight a Kraken, and actually they don't really even fight. No, they don't really fight it. They just kind of get away from it. But they try to, but then their ship gets attacked by it. But they're able to rescue the Dragon Ball and get away. Vegeta and Piccolo and Bulma come by, and they just basically end up saying, well, okay, our ship got destroyed, so I guess we'll use your ship now. We get a bunch of backstory about things and that aren't that, I don't know, maybe it'll end up being important, but for me, I was just like, okay, I guess this is a bunch of backstory we just got. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and that's basically the episode. Yeah.
I'm surprised we're already 10 episodes into this thing because I feel like we haven't really started yet. Like I feel like, okay, when are we going to get to the main plot of this? So it just feels like we're just doing trivial things. Because, most of the time it's only Goku of the main characters. Now, we got a little bit more of the other characters in this episode. But, yeah, I just feel like the feeling I get from this series is like it hasn't really begun yet. And that's my biggest problem with it.
I mean, I think it's begun. To me, it's just I feel like not much has happened over the course of these 10 episodes. I mentioned it, I think, before, but this is 20 episodes. I think this easily could have been fewer. Now, I've said like maybe they could have just done a regular sort of season length of 13, and that would have been okay. I can't say definitely we could go that far down because we're not through the rest of the episodes. But if it continues at this pace, definitely we could have gone to 13. At the very least, at this point, I can be confident saying we could have gone down to 16 episodes, like I think some of the Attack on Titan seasons were.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
at least yeah, at least we've got the groups together, so we get some more fun stuff with Bulma, Vegeta, and Piccolo, who are a more entertaining group than Goku, Glorio, and Shin. So, and also, I can't remember his name. The sort of guy, the pilot guy that's always with, that's their companion. Also, he's kind of funny. Also, so that's a better dynamic, and they've been introduced. So we get some stuff there. Some of the fighting was a little fun. So yeah, I did think it was pretty funny when Majin Ku was trying to justify his usefulness. He's saying, "Hey, I have a good singing voice." That was a good one. So yeah. Oh, I also did like the part where they're going to give the backstory of the Supreme Kai. So said, "Do you want to hear it?" And Goku says, "I'd be okay skipping it." So yeah. That's it. Anything else to say?
No, not really.
Okay. Dawn to Dawn, episode 5. Now, I think a number of weeks ago, you made some joke about how you weren't sure how you would describe a certain Witch Watch episode while maintaining this as a family-friendly podcast. That was meant as a bit of a joke, but it was, which episode was it? It was the one where Kago has to dress up as a superhero, I think.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
it? I just want to know the episode so people actually know what I'm referring to. Yeah, the first part of episode 8. And I was saying, oh, come on, it's not much. And I'm looking at this thing, well, okay, how do I describe what happened in this episode? Okay, well, I don't know if we're going to be family friendly, but we're at least not going to be counted as explicit, hopefully. So we'll move. So basically what happens is so Momo and Okarun start just going back to school. We get a bunch of hijinks about them trying to find each other and being unable to, and that kind of goes on for a while. Eventually they end up going back to her house because Okarun, remember how to describe what the series, how Turbo Granny took away his thing, as they refer to it, but he got it back because he'd eaten. Well, he found out that it's only partially back, and he's missing his, as they call, balls. So basically they discover what happened was that Turbo Granny wasn't actually defeated. She hid herself into Okarun, so they managed to draw her out and imprison her in this sort of like little toy thing that takes away her powers. Also, and because we still want Okarun to be relevant to any potential fights, he still has his, transfer the powers the curse gave him. Anyway, so they tell Turbo Granny, "Hey, give him his stuff back," and she's like, "Well, I lost him," and then that's the episode.
Yeah. I was wondering how you were gonna get through. Yeah, it's just a little bizarre episode there to go with, and yeah, I can't say it was as interesting as it was last week. There were some interesting moments early on, I thought, but overall, just okay.
Yeah, that about says it. I mean, there were some good jokes in it. They definitely had the whole "we're trying to find each other, but we keep missing each other." That whole joke went on too long. The series also as a whole continues with more of its sort of more crude humor, which some people are going to like it, some people are going to not like it. So that's the thing there. But my biggest problem is that I'm worried it'll make it much harder to describe. So
yeah.
So hopefully my description of it passed the rules. So
the censors.
Anyway, so that's Dawn to Dawn. We'll move on to Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War, episode 13. All right, so Ichigo comes back to the Soul King's palace, and and he finds and now that he knows some of the stuff about his backstory, he's able to find his real Zanpakuto. He meets up with Zangetsu for the last time. Zangetsu gives a speech basically retconning everything you knew about him. I'm sure someone, I remember when this happened in the manga, I saw someone who just went on this big rant about how it did not fit at all with the stuff in the previous series. I can't remember what they said. I'll just going to say, yeah, this is all very obviously a retcon. I wonder, there is like some stuff where like Zangetsu like mentions, did you not notice that it was always the hollow that helped you, not me? And I'm thinking, okay, is this a thing that I'm legitimately curious, and I wish I knew about some of these things. Was that actually something that the author had in mind for that whole time, or did he just look back at it and say, Zangetsu didn't really directly help him that much? I guess I can use that as an explanation for something.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just did that because he thought it would be cooler and he tried to retcon it. I don't know. Trying to figure out the Bleach lore is almost an exercise in futility, and also an exercise in feudality in some ways, because the Soul Society is basically a feudal system.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, basically he gets the real Zanpakuto now, and it's all good and stuff. And yeah, we get that resolution. Oh yeah, also we find out that Uryu joined the Sternritters.
Yeah, we found out about Uryu like at the point whenever I was nodding off. So I was like, huh? I'm like, oh crap. I almost missed it. I'm like, yeah, I there's no way I'm making it to the next two things. So I'm gonna bet. But yeah, we got a good example of Araki forgot with this whole this whole retcon. Kubo forgot, I guess. Yeah, I hate the fact, I hate retconning in general. That's just something I do not like. And it had to have been retcon because none of this stuff really made sense. Just like that whole, the worst one I think still is that, the Oaken is just our bones. And it's like, what? Give me a break. I mean, that was the worst. But this one was pretty bad too. And I think the reason I fell asleep might be an indictment of the episode. So yeah, not a very good one.
I just think sometimes it's always hard to tell how much something is like a legitimate retcon and how much is something that someone had in mind, but they just didn't like tell it or set it up properly. But yeah, it definitely, it feels very, okay, I'll just put it this way. Even if the author had this in mind from the start, it feels very much like a retcon is the point. So even if this was something they had which in mind from the start, they didn't do a good job, fitting it all in, I don't think. But whatever, we've got it through there. Ichigo's got in his real Zanpakuto and stuff, which I suppose is a good enough explanation for why he's presumably stronger now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm reminded of the time. I mean, technically, this is going to be explained later on, but it's not really spoiler, where they tell like Renji, well, see, Renji, the reason you're so weak is because you don't know your Zanpakuto's full name. You just need to know its full name. And then he gets way stronger because of that. So yeah, we got that. Anyway, this is the part, or for the record, this was where the first season or first cur or whatever counts as of Thousand Year Blood War originally ended. And then it didn't and then there was a half-year break between this and the next episode originally. But for Toonami, it's just going straight into it.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Actually, that's ironic. And speaking of which, we've got Blue Exorcist now, episode 38, where the previous, originally when aired, hang on, how long of a time gap was there between them? Oh, wow. Okay. So this is 1 week after the previous episode. Do you want to venture a guess as to how long there was between the start of this season and the end of the previous season in the original Japanese release?
I'll hazard a guess of maybe 2.5 years.
Slightly under 7.
Wow.
Yep. The previous season ended March 25th of 2017, and then this one started January 7th of 2024.
Wow.
Although to make up for it, I guess there was only half a year between seasons 3 and 4, it looks like. But yeah, there was a 7-year gap between these episodes. Wow. Okay, so anyway, we're on to Blue Exorcist. We're the start of the new season. Well, they're back at the True Cross Academy again. There's Mephisto basically grabs Rin and tells him, "Oh, by the way, I'm like a demon." And Rin's like, "What?" And Mephisto's like, "Well, it's I thought it was an open secret." I was thinking, did we know that? I just thought we knew that at this point. Was this like actually the first time it was said? I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah. So, but Mephisto then tells him, "Yeah, well, I'm not the enemy. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And if you do this task for me, I'll give you this thing because these eye drops to give to this person who needed it. That's not super important. I'll skip through." Anyway, so Rin and what he need, and turns out what Rin needed to do was just with his other classmates, they just need to fight this shape-shifting demon, and as sort of test / practice thing. And then they do that and they fight it, and then they manage to win. So yeah, so it all works out great for them. And yes, that was the episode. I don't know about you, but I thought this was a whole lot more interesting than most of the episodes of the previous season.
I agree. Thought it was a lot more interesting. I enjoyed some of the back and forth between some of the characters, and Rin and his brother. I mean, I still don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe you can help me with this, but like, okay, Rin's the older brother, yet his younger brother has always been sort of in that role of an older brother, even though he's technically the younger brother. He's got a job with the True Cross Academy, and he's got a relationship with Shura, who's obviously older, and he's in on everything, yet he's technically the younger brother, and Rin's the older brother, but Rin kind of acts so immature that you would think Rin was the younger brother. So I don't know. That just doesn't feel right to me. I wish they would have gone the other way and just said, yeah, he's the old, Rin's younger brother and the other one's the older brother. But yeah, that's probably my biggest flaw I have with this episode and the show in general.
Well, he's only older by a few seconds. They're twins.
Yeah, but why did they play it up like my older brother or my younger brother? I mean, come on.
I'm trying to remember. Did they know at the start they were twins? Did they just think they were like actual regular older and younger brother or not? And then they were later told. Actually, I'm not even. Do we know that we know they're twins, right at this point. I was looking it up to verify, and it says they are. Do we know that in the show? I can't remember if it's been revealed explicitly or not.
Good question.
That's my issue. I was double checking something on that. And it said they're twins. And like, yeah, I think we knew that. Did we know that? That's the problem. I don't know if there's been. It's like Mephisto being like a demon lord or whatever. I was thinking, I thought we knew that. Did we not technically formally know that until this point? Did we know it and Ring didn't? I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know at what point certain things got revealed. But in any event, they are twins, so they're basically the same age as a result, even if they keep saying younger and older. But yeah, I think part of the reason is the difference that is didn't Yukio like actually just get into all the Exorcist stuff like much earlier than Rin did. He was actually like in there, I think, for years, and then Rin only got like brought in to it because he had to. So I would assume that would play a part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's it. It was nice to have the focus on all of the main characters instead of it just focusing so much on a bunch of new characters for the arc that I couldn't remember anything about. It almost like it almost feels not exactly, because the previous arc did have some important stuff happen. They did have Rin able to wield his sword. It did get everyone else over their suspicions of him, but it almost feels like other than those things, like you could have just like skipped the previous season. So yeah, okay. Well, then we move on to One Piece episode 741. So let me just see. So the episode of this one is A State of Emergency. Rebecca is kidnapped. And wow, for once that actually happens, not at the very end of the episode. It happens about 2/3 through. Now, maybe kidnapped should have been in quotation marks, but that's the episode. Anyway, so the characters get told, yeah, the Navy's coming. We got to get out of here. So the Marines are going after them, and they get out, and they're going to try to get to the boat to escape. Luffy decides, oh wait, there's something I have to do. So he just kind of leaves off to do something, and he says he'll catch up to the others. He goes over to Rebecca and is saying, hey, are you okay with the fact that your father's just gonna leave permanently? And she says, well, no. So then Luffy just kind of goes off with her, and I guess and then people claim that he kidnapped her. I was a little unclear about, like, I thought that because she's obviously going with him deliberately. I can't remember. Did the people who were there think he actually kidnapped her, or did they just say he kidnapped her as some sort of popular story because it was necessary to explain it or something? I don't know.
It seemed to me like they actually thought he kidnapped her, but it's One Piece, so who knows?
Okay.
But that's kind of what I got out of it. So maybe I got fooled too.
Yeah, well, I know like the regular citizens thought it was real. I was just a little confused about whether the people who were in the room at the time did.
Okay.
Anyway, so they all just go. So they go off, and yeah, that's basically the episode.
Yeah.
Also, they used that running sound effect a lot in this episode. Did you notice that?
Running?
When like especially at the start, when all like the Navy guys are like, running someplace, they kept having that like sort of like clep clop sound effect over and over.
I didn't notice this.
Okay, because I just could not stop noticing. They kept using the exact same sound effect so many times.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I guess it was It was an okay episode.
Yeah, it was One Piece. I mean, I don't understand what Luke, like, why is Luffy kidnapping her?
Well, he's not. She wanted to go with
Yeah,
him. Is the
yeah, I
thing.
know.
Everyone just
I know
okay.
that.
I'm just I assume it was just because the assumption I got is that it's because he wanted to bring her to her father to tell him, hey, don't go. Although I
Mhm.
don't think it was explicitly said yet. This is one of those things
I
that
see.
might have worked out a little better if we hadn't. Actually, let me see. Let's find out how much of a chapter did this episode actually cover. All right. So this covered, all right, it covered about a fourth of one chapter and about half of another chapter. So we got about a total of 3/4 of a chapter with this.
Three
Well,
fourths. Wait a minute. You said 3/4 of a chapter? Oh man.
well, more like 4/5, I think.
4/5. Okay. Well, 80%. We're giving them a 5% bump there. So I mean there's an improvement. I mean, how much is 5%? One more page, 2 pages? I mean, that's not, I can live with 80%. 75%, I can't. I can't do it. But 80%, I'm okay with. So if we got the 77%, then that would be a real dilemma. But yeah, so One Piece is slowly moving along, and we still haven't gotten to our waving goodbye episodes, which like usually take like 3 or 4 episodes where everyone has to wave goodbye as they move on to the next spot in their journey. By the way, the opening always says, Gold Roger and his crew were the only crew to chart these waters and learn all the secrets they held. But like, does that mean like these people have been out here for generations and no one's even known about them? Like, you would think someone had to have known where they were. Like, is this like supposed to be like America before, uh, before before the 1500s? The discovery of America? Is that what this is supposed to be like? It confuses me. That's all.
Um, That's an interesting question because obviously we like the rest of the world has known about this part of the it is called like the isn't it called the New World, the second half of the
Yeah,
Grand Line that started with
yeah,
the time skip. So maybe it was like that. Maybe Gold Rogers and his crew were the first to do it. Although it said I think it said the only ones, but that might have just meant that he was the first one to go through literally the entire thing and find everything. But
oh,
although that was also a good while ago, well, because Rogers actually I can't remember timeline wise when did he actually die in the series. I know it was before the start. Let me see. I'm actually suddenly very curious about this. Okay, Gold Roger. It's set. Let me see if I can if it tells me exactly when when in the timeline he died. Let's see. Doot, doot, doot. Ah, sorry. Things just having stuff. Yeah, I don't know exactly when it was. It would he wouldn't have died too much. It was I think it would have been like maybe like I don't know 10 or 20 years before the start of the series, not sure. But yeah, it is a little unclear on that. I'm not sure exactly how much the whole backstory of everything is, but it could just be interpreted that he was the only one that his crew was the only one that like completely found everything in the whole new world.
Okay.
So that might be it. I know there was a part where I know he was able his crew did make it to Raftel, which is I think the like last place that they're supposed to go to find One Piece or whatever. But which they later explain was actually meant or Laugh Tale, as I think it was later clarified to be called, where it just like said that they discovered the secret of the world, and it just made Gold Rogers laugh, and we still don't know what it is yet. So I think that's actually revealed later, so maybe that's technically a spoiler. I don't know. It is. I'm having the problem with I'm having with Blue Exorcist, where I'm not sure if something has technically been revealed yet. I can't remember when everything gets explained in the series. So that's my lengthy answer to your question that doesn't actually really answer it. But I will say, if you're talking about, the amount of how much it makes of a chapter, I was curious because I know that the pacing gets worse as it goes on. I just randomly thought, okay, so we're on like, in the 700s. Let's see where we are on episode 1000. Well, episode 1000 takes parts of two chapters together, and combining those together, we get looks like we get about half a chapter.
Half a chapter, okay.
Yeah. You get half a chapter.
Not acceptable.
It's a little weird to describe it because later on One Piece chapters sometimes ended up being a little shorter. So, but if we're like counting like the normal chapter one, then this combined is about half of one. So yeah, things get more and more padded out as it goes along, which I am not looking forward to.
I'm kind of just for the curiosity, like how bad can this get? Like why not? Why not go all the way to one episode being, 5 pages? Something like that. Why not? Let's see them show off how good they are at padding. Let's see their best padding skills. just go all out. In this case, we need to go all out. So
yeah, I think even. Yeah, apparent. I think the pacing. There was a point where they had to go on break for a while. I'm guessing they just couldn't pad things out anymore. And I think when they came back, the padding got the pacing got a little better. But yeah, it's just what you accept with One Piece until we one day will get our One Piece Kai.
Wasn't that announced or something?
They announced there was going to be a new anime adaptation starting from the beginning of the series. That's what they said. So I'm going to assume that
different.
Like with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where they just said, okay, we'll start from the beginning and have a new anime, basically. Or the Hunter x Hunter anime we watched. That wasn't the first Hunter x Hunter anime. There was an anime like well before that did not go as far and ended earlier. And then later on, they made a new Hunter x Hunter anime like that. They're just going to say, it'll just be a new anime starting from the beginning, like a reboot or something, as you might call it, or or
what are they going to do with? What are they going to do with the one they have now? Just end it?
No, I think they'll just keep it going. Probably.
Why does this not make any sense to me?
I don't know like the reasons. I just know that they're going to be doing another one. I'm going to guess maybe the goal would probably be you know, just to say, well, okay, hey, instead of having 1,000 chapters here's a new series you can start. You can start right there, and it'll be in, you know, modern, you know, like HD animation, unlike the original series where all the starting stuff is SD, standard definition, you know, that kind of thing, basically.
I see. Yeah.
I'm going to guess that's the idea. And then you can say, and yay, we'll have better pacing and stuff. And eventually we'll get to maybe the part where the first anime started having a bunch of filler and padding, and we will avoid that. Or maybe the answer just might be, hey, One Piece is really popular. Let's do another anime to make more money. I mean, why not? Works for Pokemon. That's why they release everything in 2 or 3 versions. Okay. All right, moving on from Toonami. We've got Yu Hakusho episode 69. All right, so cool. So as we learned, you basically get your soul stolen or paralyzed or whatever if you say hot, which Hiei does, so that happens to him. Kuwabara accidentally breaks it when he says the phrase each other, which qualifies because it's got HOT in them. Then Botan just accidentally says hot and he gets snared by it also. She just like says, what? He didn't even say hot. And this Punchy said, oops. So basically Kurama decides to try to challenge him with some new rules where periodically the letters of the alphabet that they can use will be removed and they have to talk speaking without them. And well, the way they say it in the dub is, you know, they talk about the English alphabet, but you can like, if you know, you can literally just look at the screen and see all the Japanese characters and know that's what they're really talking about. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on there. Ultimately, Kurama wins because he's able to, when there's only one sound left, he just makes a really goofy face. We do not see it, but it's apparently really goofy, which makes the guy laugh, which disqualifies him, and he loses, and everyone's back to normal. And yeah. I don't know about you, but this episode felt so much like an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to me. This is exactly the kind of thing they would do in some episode, probably.
Yeah, this was a very funny episode. My biggest question is, how in the world did they manage to adapt this from Japanese to English? Because, I mean, so many nuances of what they said, you know, because like when they say a phrase, I start thinking, okay, did they use that letter? And like, no, they didn't use that letter in that sentence. And they kept on doing it and doing it. And I was just amazed that they were able to pull that off, given the fact that this was a totally different language. I mean, they really must have taken a lot of time figuring this one out and figuring out how to adapt it so that it still made sense even in English. I thought it was a great episode, probably sort of because of the JoJo. I didn't think, you know, JoJo, but when you say it, that's kind of what it reminds me of. And yeah, I thought it was a very good episode.
Yeah, they definitely would have had to spend some time on the translation for this. I feel like they must have done some on-screen edits when this originally aired on Toonami, because while a lot of this arc is a blur to me. This is actually one that I can remember this episode pretty well, and I don't think I remember seeing Japanese text on it. So they probably replaced those with like English letters or something on screen when they broadcast it originally on TV. I can't be sure because it was so long ago, but I don't think we saw the Japanese letter. So probably, like when you see like, a symbol and it's got the X on it, they probably like replaced that with like a Z or something to cross it out.
I see.
But yeah, it was a fun episode. So after that, we move on to Anne Shirley episode 13. Was it? Right. Okay, so in this episode, we were just trying to remember. Okay, now I remember what was going on. There's two things in the episode. One is basically, spending some more time with the other kid, with the newly adopted kids, taking them on a boat and stuff. And the other big thing is this author that Anne was a really big fan of was going to come visit. So a whole lot of the episode is really them just trying to get things ready for her, with Davy inadvertently messing things up several times. And then the author isn't able to come, but then she is able to come. And then we get some random stuff where Anne was trying to use lemon juice to make her freckles disappear, but accidentally applies the wrong thing because of course, which just gives her this weird sort of like red look on her face. But everyone just thinks, that's kind of funny. And yeah, that was the main stuff that happened in the episode.
Yeah, kind of just a slice of life kind of episode here. I'm kind of done with Davy. Like, he's really done aggravating. Like, at least whenever Anne, did silly things, she wasn't doing it because she was like trying to annoy someone. But this guy, this kid, he just wants to be bad, and he wants to do things to make people angry, and it's a little aggravating. And yeah, I don't really like him that much, and I don't really like where the show has gone these past two episodes, although I will admit that the whole nose thing was pretty funny about her, getting a red nose because she was using the wrong stuff. That was pretty funny, but yeah, so overall, just a blah episode to me.
Yeah, I did. Although I did think it was funny when Davy did something he wasn't supposed to, and Marilla said, why didn't you do? I told you not to do it. And he said, well, there's so many things you told me not to do that I forget some of them. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I did see someone mention that there was that the anime, I guess because it had to like kind of, maybe it'll get into it later, but I think it kind of skipped over some of his and his sister's backstory, which apparently did a little more to explain why he's the way he is. So maybe that was a mistake, but at the same time, you got to compress stuff in order to get all this stuff done in 24 episodes. So there's that. So yeah, it was definitely kind of slice of life-ish. Yeah, I don't really have too much else to add to it. So we'll go to the end. Kowloon Generic Romance, episode 13.
Yeah, so basically that one guy and Reiko are trying to figure out stuff, and we eventually get brought back to the events that happened right before her taking that picture that she found in the first episode. And we find out how that happens, and then the main character's name, who is escaping me right now, Kudo, he kind of like just like fixes everything and moves on, and that's pretty much it. So, do you have a better way of describing the episode than I did?
Let me. Well, you kind of covered it. Basically, this because some of the stuff in it, I'm left wondering. Okay, was this explained and I missed it, or was it just not explained? But essentially, it was a matter of Kudo knows, or maybe he knew before and was just admitting it now, that the whole thing got recreated because the weird floating thing in the sky that we saw a bunch somehow latched onto his thoughts and recreated it. But now it's no longer doing that, and all the things that were made disappear. Although Kujirai's okay, she just is able to leave. I'm not sure if it's exactly why, but she did. And so then she joins the other people outside of it, the now, still destroyed Kowloon, and everything works, and just everything works out for her, I guess, and then meets Kudo at some later point. I was kind of a little confused about this. Was this the ending thing? Was this the first time Kujirai and Kudo met each other again? Or when they were talking about like 2 years, was it just like it was 2 years since the whole Kowloon got destroyed for real? I mean, it was destroyed, but it got like, the illusion or whatever it was gone. Or was it saying that they haven't seen each other for 2 years? I was a little confused about that. There's a lot of things here that left me a bit confused, but the bottom line is, the whole thing, Kowloon was an illusion or something, and it's gone, and the characters just leave it and I guess get their happy endings.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the end of the series. So we can talk about the show in general. Mm-hmm. And I would have to say that although I love this show for the first, 3 or 4 episodes, I was a big fan of this show. And then it just kind of went off the rails, and I couldn't understand anything that was going on. I couldn't tell the difference between now and then and everything. I was so confused all the time that it took away from my enjoyment of the episodes, of thinking, okay, what is going to happen next and stuff. But it was like, okay, we're in the past. No, we're in the present. No, we're in the future, and it just became too confusing to me. And as a result, I don't know what I'm going to give this one on my anime list. I haven't updated that in a long time. I'm thinking a 6 out of 10. I'm thinking that's where I'm going with it. Obviously not as good as I thought it was at first. I thought for sure it would win our bracket, but that's not the case. So, yeah. So that was Kowloon Generic Romance, a show that could have been really good, but wasn't.
I am wondering, I've seen a bunch of people say that the anime went through the manga very quickly, and then that's not even counting the stuff about the ending, which I'll get to. They were going through it was like practically going through 1 volume per episode, so the opposite of One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
Which they think might have hurt it. I'm not 100% sure about that. If anything, I kind of felt like the plot in some ways was moving a little slowly at some points, but maybe that can happen sometimes, where when you go through something really fast, it ends up making it feel slow paced because it's going through stuff so fast. It just puts you in the mindset of, well, okay, I want you to get through this thing. And it makes it so you don't, like, I guess, stop and smell the roses to better enjoy the stuff that's happening because it's going fast. So you end up feeling like it's going slow. So maybe that's it. On the other hand, with there being all the mystery stuff that presumably still wouldn't be explained until way later, that might have felt more tedious for me. I don't know. I can't speak to a hypothetical one. I just know I saw a good number of people saying they wished it had been double core in order to space things out more. The big thing, though, is when we get to the ending. And that, because once again, the manga isn't over. Now, I know it's apparently in its final arc and is going towards the conclusion, but it's still not over. So you again have to look at these last, I think, 2 episodes and it's hard to know how much they match up with what the manga would do. I tried to look into it. It looks like when the anime ended, some people mentioned that it seemed like the manga was sort of on the same general course. Like someone mentioned, oh yeah, that's that part where Kudo, gives the proposes to Kujirai B, but then finds out she died afterwards. They said that was in the manga. Apparently the manga actually, again, I'm going completely by what people on the internet are saying. This could be wrong. Apparently it explained what happened there a little better. What happened was she was going to, I think, when Kowloon was going to be destroyed, she was planning to, I think, kill herself or something out of depression from that. But then Kudo proposed to her and she was thinking, oh, well, maybe I do want to live. And she couldn't actually make up her mind. So she basically decided to whether she wanted to live or not. So she kind of took these medications that for different people have different amounts of like lethal doses and just figured, well, if I survive this, then I'll marry him and be and stuff. And if I don't, well, I'll be dead. And if this counts as an overdose, then I'll die. And well, she died. So the whole thing was just a way to avoid making a decision. And that wasn't explained in the anime, but apparently was in the manga that came out. The chapter came out around the same time as this episode, apparently. So I'm going to guess that the anime probably had an accelerated version of the actual ending the manga will have, but we don't know for sure. It might, but I'm going to guess that's the case. So as to my general thoughts on the series, I thought I wasn't as high on the beginning episodes as you were. I think my problem is the fact that there's so much focus on characters other than the ones. A lot of focus went to characters I didn't really care that much about, and then and then it seemed like it focused so much on all the mystery stuff that it just didn't feel like it really, with the lack of explanations for some things, like why did the thing, recreate a Kowloon based on what Kudo was thinking? I'm not sure. Maybe it was explained and I missed it but I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say exactly what I think. I will say on the whole, I wasn't that interested in the series, but I didn't think it was actively bad, certainly. It just kind of felt like it was sort of there to me, and it reached what seemed a reasonable enough conclusion. But yeah, I would be interested at when it ends to see if I can find what someone says, how it, like, the actual series ended up ending in comparison. Because there's an official translation of the manga, but it has not. But the English one is kind of behind the Japanese one, and I don't think there's any scanlations either that go that far. So it'll still be a bit of a time before it gets to this point. So once again, I said a whole lot, but I don't think I ended up actually saying that much.
No, you said a lot. You made a pretty good point. Yeah, you explained that whole thing at the end too. So, yeah, I feel let down from the beginning. I guess you don't feel as let down because you weren't as high on it as I was at the beginning, but we kind of feel the same way about it overall. It
Yeah.
was just around average or so, so yeah.
I will say that even if it was a bit confusing on some of the specifics, I do think it had a fairly satisfactory conclusion.
Yeah, I can go with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we say goodbye to Kowloon generic romance, and then we'll move on to Witch Watch episode 13.
Okay, now please bear with me because there's 3 segments and I might get these segments mixed up, but kind of like the whole Yu Hakusho thing, we've got a thing where not only does a crescent moon turn Keigo, is that his name again?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, not only does crescent moon turn him into a werewolf, but anything shaped like a crescent. So, of course, they got to start going through and getting rid of anything that looks like crescent. And then he gets his breakfast and it's a croissant. So he turns into a werewolf and then goes off and does crazy things with girls because that's what werewolves do. And then... So, oh man, am I forgetting the second one or the first one? I know the third one was the one where Nemu, the cat girl, goes and yeah. So he
Nemu's
knows
was
that
Nemu's was the second.
Okay, Nemu's was the second one. Okay, yeah, where she goes and he keeps her secret, but at a price. And I can't remember the third one.
That was like I think where that was the one where Nico, because she's not good at cooking, decides to put something on her food, which makes everyone fall in love. It was with the food, but then it gets accidentally sprayed on her, which makes everyone fall in love with her. So to basically break it, she just needs Morihito to kiss her on the cheek, which then ends the spell and fixes it all.
Yeah, I got the parts mixed up in my mind. I totally forgot about that third part, but it was funny and I enjoyed it. I just forgot about it. So yeah, that's the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some decent jokes in these episodes. I did think it was kind of funny where Wolf, that's like the name of Keigo's alt werewolf version, which is functionally a different character, just tells her, I just need you once a month to, show up and and give me a crescent thing so I can come out. And that's basically it. So yeah, we got some information about Keigo and how all that stuff works. There was some fun stuff in here. I found the first 2 more interesting than the third, because the third is really just another, hey, Nico tries to use a spell, but things go wackily wrong and they have to solve it, which has been used so many times. So yeah, okay. That's Witch Watch. All right. Oh, also they had a new theme song for this one. It's not as good as the previous one.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to, like introduce a sort of new dance thing. Like they were thinking, man, Mashal's for second season, like its theme song went super viral because of a goofy dance the characters made. Let's try to put in a goofy dance. Maybe we'll go viral. We might be the next Caramel Dawson. It's not the next Caramel Dawson, but it almost felt like they were just trying to put in a goofy dance to try to go viral like Mashal's did.
Well, I've seen a lot of shows do that. Assassination Classroom, even My Hero Academia, even that has been has like a kind of dance type of thing to their opening theme. So yeah.
Okay, so then we move on to My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 11. So we have a whole lot of preparation for the show, for like the singing show of Pop Step and the other characters that I want. My question is, so exactly at what point midway through the performance is it all going to get interrupted? Is the guess I have. Meanwhile, Knuckle Duster has managed to track down, I still can't remember her name, sorry, B-Girl, and fights with her and actually seems to gain the upper hand. He also says some stuff where it indicates, it's not entirely clear to me, and I apologize if this actually was made clear and I was just dumb and missed it. It seemed like she's his daughter, but like when he says like he's not talking to you, I'm talking to her, it sounded like she is like being possessed by some kind of malevolent force or something. Like she was like a regular girl, but something has taken her over. That's the implication I got from the way he was talking to her, and that the body was that of his daughter, so that's what I thought. I guess we'll see. And oh yeah, meanwhile we have a bunch of stuff with some of the other heroes. Remember those characters from My Hero Academia? They're here, and Eraserhead gets into a fight with someone.
How long is between this and the original My Hero Academia? Like, I know this is a prequel. Like, how far back is it?
I think this is 5 years before the start of My Hero Academia. I'll double check.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, it takes place 5 years before the original series.
Okay.
So I think what we're supposed, for some of like the characters we saw, like who are the ones who we've seen originally? There's Midnight, there's Present Mike, there's also Eraserhead. Was there someone else? I feel like there was someone else, but I can't remember. Regardless,
Midnight,
we saw that.
Eraserhead. Yeah, Midnight, Eraserhead. There, I thought, yeah, I think you're right. There's one other one, and I can't remember who it was.
Endeavor got mentioned, but he didn't show up.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of these characters I think at this point aren't as famous as they would be in the future. I mean in universe. So
yeah.
So that's a little interesting. So yeah, so that was the episode. I think the unfortunate problem is all this stuff about, the singing event I didn't really care that much about. It was the other stuff I was interested in.
Yeah, the whole singing thing, this is, one of my things where I've said, I'm very confused about Pop Step and why this is so important. Like, okay, it's good for her career, but who cares? I mean, I don't know. This show, we have that other stuff going on with Knuckle Duster, which is like a real plot, but we're focusing too much on this meaningless concert thing and someone gets hurt so they can't do something at the concert, and it's like, well, who really cares? I don't know. I found this episode to be lacking in quality.
Yeah. So I don't have too much to add to it. I already mentioned it. I did like seeing some of those characters again. And previously, I remember I complained about when Stain showed up in this, a character from the original series, antagonist from the original series. And I think here it's okay they show up because they work here. The question, I guess, is this: if My Hero Academia, the original series, didn't exist, if this was like the original story, would it work? And them appearing here, yeah, totally fine. You don't need to know stuff about My Hero Academia, at least at this point for them. Whereas with Stain, it was just like, okay, we have some stuff with him and he leaves the show, and it seems like there's going to be some important stuff with him, except all that only ends up being resolved in My Hero Academia. And that's the problem I've got with it, because it's kind of a prequel, but not exactly a prequel. Fate Zero is a prequel. This is just a series that takes place before another series, which in a lot of ways is kind of what you would say a prequel. But I would say a prequel, it needs to be more directly a setup for the series rather than just something that takes place before it. Like what's a good thing to say? So, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example offhand. I was going to say the Star Wars prequels, those were prequels, but some of other films but in comparison to, but I was going to say, well, Rogue One, that wasn't really a prequel. That was something that took place before. But I'm thinking, I don't know, in some ways it kind of was a prequel. So, so I don't know what I'm sure there's some Star Wars stuff that took place before the original trilogy. I don't know all this stuff. There's so many series. I have no idea where they fit in the timeline, but at least some of them I know take place before the original trilogy, but they're not a prequel. That's the thing. That's the difference, I guess, between a prequel and a series that takes place before another one. As usual, I said a lot of words and probably didn't explain things well, but that's the thing. This is a series that takes place before the other. It's a spin-off, as you could say, and that's the issue. That relied too much on how it's resolved in the next one, whereas the other characters, they work fine in the context of this story and don't need some resolution in the future. At least so far. Maybe we'll have some part where we'll have some big thing that only pays off in My Hero Academia. So yeah, but so Knuckle Duster story, good. Pop Step story, not so good, which honestly is kind of a good description of most episodes of this series now that I think about it. All right.
Pop Step having no confidence makes very little sense given the fact that she's trying to be an idol who is supposed to have total confidence. So it's I like her character, but I just feel like she's just I don't know how to describe it. I like her character, but whenever she's on the screen, it usually the show isn't going good. So yeah.
Okay, I guess that's it for that then, and that's all of our series. I guess we can give our picks for the week then.
Yeah, my picks are Toonami. I'm going with Blue Exorcist. Non-Toonami, I'm going with Witch Watch. And the best girl of the week is Nemu, Meow. And yes, I've made it through August without picking any girl twice. So let's see if I can make it to our year-end episode without picking the same girl twice. It's going to be difficult, but trying to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in a month or two, we'll be done with I think in about 2 months we'll be done with all of our non-Toonami series other than Yu Hakusho. So we'll be bringing in a bunch of new stuff then. So that'll be a lot of new characters to talking about.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, for the Toonami series, I think I'll pick Blue Exorcist. I originally I was thinking, I'll pick Dragon Ball Daima, and then I described the episode and I realized, now let's give it to Blue Exorcist. So for the non-Toonami series, I'm going to pick Yu Hakusho. It like I said, it reminded.
Go ahead.
It reminded me of JoJo and like in a good way. That was the thing, basically, was it. And it did have some funny jokes and was good. Yeah, just a solid episode.
Yeah, Yu Hakusho was definitely in the running. It was going to be my pick, and then I enjoyed Quick Spot so much that I was like, I got to give it to the show that's been the show for me for the last few months, and we'll see if it can continue like that.
Okay.
Not giving any spoilers away on our year-end show yet, though. So if you think that I'm picking it for number one at the end of the year, think again. We still have a lot of time to go, so I am not spoiling anything.
I'm honestly not sure what I will pick for my top spot. In some past years, I knew like at about this time, it'll totally be this series, and in other years I've been unsure. So I don't know. I think there was at least 1 year where I at this point didn't know, and then we just picked up something in the last part of the year, and that gave it that one. Was I think that happened with Fate Zero. I think that just came in towards the end of the year and skyrocketed to number one. I can't say that was.
Go ahead.
Then when Unlimited Blade Works, what did I give that number one or number two? I can't remember offhand. Let me see if I have that written down.
Possibly been. I remember the 1 year I changed my pick in the middle of the episode. I'm like, I'm not going with Hunter x Hunter after all. I'm going with Food Wars. And that was back before he even really liked Food Wars. I was just like, I'm changing it now. So,
I checked. I did give Unlimited Blade Works the top spot for the next year. Those 2 years were funny because literally both of those years concurrently, my number one pick was a Fate series, and then number two was Kaguya-sama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look back at all of the series we've done. Each year I mean to keep like a running tally throughout the year, and each year I forget, and then just have to figure it all out like at the end, and just look back at all the episode descriptions of the podcast and see, okay, what series did we actually discuss again? Okay. So we'll see how things go for that. So I don't think I have anything else to talk about here. I'm thinking I think that's all good. Do you have anything to say before we leave?
I'm still watching Bleach. We're in the Zanpakuto arc. Some of it has been a lot better than I thought it was the first time around whenever I watched it. So I'm actually kind of enjoying it a little bit. So,
Okay. And that'll be it for me. So I'm going to say, I guess I'll just, Yeah, one thing to mention, since we're done with Kowloon generic romance and there's only 2 episodes left of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, we're going to watch 2 episodes of that for next week. Everything else, we just watch a regular amount, but for My Hero Academia Vigilantes, we'll watch 2 episodes next week and finish it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and without further ado, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Welcome, dear listeners, to our podcast, Toonami Therapy. We're recording September 3rd of 2025. As usual, I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And in case you somehow encounter this without knowing it, this is our podcast where we talk, well, about Toonami series and a lot of non-Toonami series also. So, I don't think we have anything exciting to talk about it to start. Honestly, when we talk, maybe we should like find random things to talk about it to start, because so many podcasts I listen to, that's how they start before they actually get into the thing. They just talk about random things like life events or whatever. We don't do that. We always save it to the end. But if we're going to change it, it won't be this episode. So let's get straight into it with Dragon Ball Daima, episode 11. All right, so they have the other old Namekian guy, Neva, I think his name was. Well, he gives some exposition, and the important thing is that he mentions, if you want to use a Dragon Balls here, you need to know the special Namekian language that I know, but you guys don't know. Then they end up making so the the other guys, meanwhile, the bad guys are doing stuff, but to try to fight, they're all trying to get the special Dragon Balls. Meanwhile, our main characters group goes there. Vegeta wants to fight the next one, and then they start fighting, and that's it. If I remember correctly, doesn't the episode end with Vegeta apparently getting eaten by the Kraken?
Yeah, this episode, not very interesting one, I thought. Except for the talk about the Dragon Balls and about how they had them on Earth as well as on that planet, right?
Yeah, this is how many sets of Dragon Balls are there in the franchise now? I can't remember if this takes before or after Dragon Ball Super, but we've got the Earth ones, we've got the Namekian ones, we've got these ones now, and then we've got the what do they even call them? Like the special Dragon Balls that were in Super. Were they like the Super Dragon Balls, the Ultra Dragon Balls, I can't remember
super duper Dragon Balls.
Yeah, so that which have like no restrictions, I think they established. So yeah, that's like 4 different sets of them now.
And it's so easy for them to gather them. Remember that? So they're talking about it's like, it's so easy to gather the Dragon Balls on Earth.
Yeah, it's gotten increasingly easier. I remember at the start of the series, they spent a bunch of time gathering them, and nowadays, and later on, if they want to do it, they're just like, let's just go grab them all now.
It's because we need those Dragon Balls for something, so let's just go and grab those Dragon Balls, just so we can make a universe-altering wish. That there's nothing to it.
Yeah. How long did it take them to get the Dragon Balls the first time around? And now it's just like, and now they just do it off screen whenever they need to.
Yeah.
Okay. So we move on to Don to Don episode 6. So they're trying to now find the balls, which literally are balls, like golden like spheres and stuff. And one of that
Dragon Balls.
Yeah, the Dragon Balls. Yeah, we might as well. I mean, they've got. Well, I don't know because these apparently have powers. Just one Dragon Balls. They're just they don't do anything until you get all of them. But
I
yeah.
see.
Anyway, so this girl from their school, Ira, I think her name was, right. She finds one of them, and when someone gets them, it gives them the power to like see spirits, although spirits can now see them also. She ends up, because she can like see that, she now sees Momo's powers, and she thinks Momo's actually evil as a result, and comes up with the idea of trying to basically kidnap her to like try to exorcise her. As in case my pronunciation was weird, I mean exercise, not exercise and exercise sounds so similar. I mean, like the movie, as in the movie, The Exorcist.
Blue Exorcist.
Yeah, that makes how did that skip over my mind as the way to explain it? Yeah, that kind of exercise. Anyway, so he does that, but then one of the spirits shows up and starts attacking them. They all have to fight it, but then all get eaten by it. But fortunately, they did manage to use a lighter to get out of there. And yeah, and now as a result, they managed to get out of them, but the fight's not over yet.
Yeah. It was okay. I thought. And nothing much to say about it, but yeah, it's okay.
I thought it was fun. Dandadan's like a series that there's a lot I like about it, but then it's always got all this coarse humor. And then but at this point, I feel like it's just complaining about it is like complaining about how Bleach's world building doesn't make sense. It's just, you just kind of have to accept it's part of the show, for better or for worse. Right. So we get all that. There are some funny bits in here. Yeah. So yeah, it was a fun episode. All right, Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, episode 14.
Let's see. Okay, I'm having a hard time remembering this. Could you help me with this?
Well, most of it was just seeing stuff of the Quincy's.
Right. It was a Quincy. Yeah, basically the whole thing about 900 years for this and 90 years for that and 90 something, and yeah, all that. And basically Uwabara decides that out of nowhere Uryu is going to be his successor. So he just kind of just says, yeah, because you happen to be an important character in this series, I'm going to make you the villain of this series so you can be the new Sasuke and go up against Ichigo. And now we got all these Stern Ritters who I think they're numbered by the letter of the alphabet, which I don't know how they did that in Japanese, but
they used English letters in Japanese. They like
did?
said, A, B, C, D. They like used the actual English letters.
Okay. So it's not like Yu Hakusho last week.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not like that.
Yeah, so basically that, and one thing I realized is that they try to make these Stern Ritters like, into characters themselves, but they're always so forgettable that I don't remember any of their names or anything about them. I just know they fight and then they get beaten and then they're gone. And so, yeah, I think Oh, and we got a little bit of Hiyori, who is my least favorite character in all Bleach. She showed up. It's too bad she couldn't have gotten killed off. I would have been in favor of that. Maybe she still does. I hope so. We'll see. Um, and that and yeah, so not really much else to say about that episode.
Yeah, well, one thing I guess I should mention is from what I recall in the manga, this is the first time we actually see Uryu basically this entire arc. We had all this stuff with Quincy's and he just never shows up until now. The anime kind of added some scenes, before this with him, which I think was an improvement. But yeah, he does join in. He gets the A. They all like you said, they're all based on letters, which since there's 26 letters in the English alphabet, that really means that a lot of these are like become really disposable.
Yeah.
I think there's some where we don't even know what their power, who end up getting killed without us even knowing what their letter stands for, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but we do at least get some things with them. Other than that, I don't have too much to add. It mostly was them, and we would get some stuff of, the other characters are doing training and stuff. Yeah, and then, yep, I guess we'll be getting into the battles next episode then.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention. They actually do spend some time where Shunsui just goes over to, the world of the living to talk to Ichigo's classmates. Oh, yeah, so by the way, there's a very, 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 very small chance Ichigo might be unable to come back to Earth. So in preparation, here are like some, I can't remember what they call them, like passports, tickets, something. Soul passes. Which will let you like come to the Soul Society to visit. Yeah, I mean, they spend I think at least several minutes on this, and maybe this is spoiler, but just for the record, I don't think they ever show up in this arc again.
Yeah.
So what would now? I'll be fair again. We don't have the final part adapted. Supposedly they're going to, there's been statements that they're going to be expanding upon or adding things. So maybe there will be some sort of better resolution there. I'm just going to say in the manga, as far as I remember, they never show up again in this arc. So it just makes you wonder, why did they do this at all?
Yeah. Yeah, you get these free tickets to the Soul Society just in case you ever want to visit a place that's supposedly been completely destroyed by the Quincy's. Quincy's apparently destroyed everything, so there's not really much to see anymore. But yeah, if you ever want to come over, you can just use these and how many times are they good for? Like, is this thing like, okay, you use it once and it's like, okay, well, you got to buy the next one. And what do you buy it with? What kind of currency do you use? There's so many questions about these soul passes, which yeah. And yeah, I just don't really have much else to add about that.
Yeah. Well, technically, it's not really the Soul Society that's been destroyed. It's just the central. I can't actually remember what it's called. What is the place where all the court guard squads are in?
Seirete?
Is that it? Okay, it's been the Seirete, not the whole Soul Society. But I mean, you can visit those parts, I guess, and just see people still living like with 15th century technology. I got that's actually a question. Since people now die and they go there, shouldn't there have been some people who really knew about technology that could have improved it? I mean, you think someone would have there would have been someone like Senku who could have just Dr. Stoned them into, like in just a few years into basically having computers.
Well, Mayuri is able to do that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the regular, the regular people in the Soul Society, where it's all just like huts and stuff. I'm thinking shouldn't like even if like the court guard squads don't really care, I'm still thinking there would have been some people who went there and knew that stuff. But again, I mentioned before Bleach's world building not making much sense. It legitimately feels like the series at some point just straight up forgot the Soul Society is supposed to be the afterlife, because it's never treated like that.
Yeah. Welcome to the afterlife, John Luke. You're dead.
Okay. So
unfortunately, we never made it that far.
Okay. So we'll move on to Blue Exorcist, episode 39. All right, so in this episode, Yukio goes to a meeting and is treated very super seriously. You have to sign this thing in blood or whatever to prove you're trustworthy. And the first guy starts out by saying, all right, there will be no questions. And then 5 questions get asked during the meeting. Maybe he was referring specifically to Yukio, but that was kind of weird. Anyway, so they're all basically talking about some stuff there. And right. Then ultimately what happens is we return to the I can't remember what they're called. Were they called X-Wires? Is that the name for the
yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, the students, they have to fight a monster which only appears to girls or something. So basically, it's an opportunity to have the female characters show, just work together to fight the thing. And so they go through that and they manage to beat it. But then we get a wacky joke where all the guys show up, dressed up as women, because as sort of a backup way for them to be able to fight the thing. So I guess that was just the author's way of maybe thinking, I want to get all of my gender bent designs out of the way. So yeah, that was the episode. Oh yeah, one other thing. There's some stuff where they're talking about in Russia. There's some Gehenna Gate that's opening or whatever, and Mephisto says, yeah, well, I can slow down time a lot, I guess. Yeah, I've got that power apparently. So he does that to make it so that they've got several months to deal with it. So there you go. That's the episode.
Yeah. I think I kind of enjoyed it, even though there's a little haphazard there. I like the whole dynamic between Shiemi and Izumi, I think her name is. Why can't I remember her name? Kamiki. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, I thought that this was a fairly good episode. So yeah.
Yeah. I have been enjoying this season more than the previous one so far. So yeah, good on the series for that. All right, so One Piece episode 742. Luffy brings Rebecca to Kairos's house, her father, and we get her saying, no, I don't want you to leave. I'm totally fine with people knowing you're my father, all that kind of stuff. There's a whole lot of flashbacks in this scene that, by the way, are total padding. They didn't happen in the manga. I was actually looking at it to see. All right. Meanwhile, right, the other Luffy, leaves to rejoin his group who have come up against Admiral Fujitora. Also, then we have some stuff with Law and Sengoku talking to each other and having flashbacks that this time around some of them were in this part of the manga, but some of them are just anime added.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that's basically the episode.
Yeah, this one felt like it was moving at a snail's pace. By the end of the episode, I was like, did we even advance the plot at all from this episode? Because it really didn't feel like it. So, yeah, this was one of you said it's getting worse after this.
It just I don't know if there's like a specific point where you say it gets worse in terms of pacing. I just know it gradually gets worse and worse as it goes along, because the basic problem is, so One Piece, the anime, it's a weekly series. There's like not breaks. They could bring out a new new episode every week. Now, maybe I think there's like a few weeks per year it doesn't, but generally that's the thing. You get an episode each week. Now, the manga One Piece is also weekly. It runs in Weekly Shonen Jump, and you get a new chapter each week. Well, 48, but there are 4 weeks that the magazine takes off each year, so you get 48 chapters. So that means if you want to keep pace with the manga, you need to be just adapting 1 chapter per episode, which is pretty slow, by the way. I should mention most anime nowadays adapt maybe 2 or 3 chapters of a weekly manga series into an episode. The thing is, as One Piece has gone on, the manga, its schedule has gotten like slower. Like there's been more weeks where the author, wasn't able to get the chapter out, or the chapter came out, but it was shorter than the normal length is. And that means that there's more and more of that as the series goes on. We're not like talking like long hiatuses or anything, nothing like, but there are more it is more and more frequently there will be weeks without chapters. And since you've got fewer per year and the anime is still doing it weekly, that means before you could have 1 chapter per episode, which is slow, but something there. Now they have to start having less than 1 chapter per episode, which we're already seeing here, but then it has to keep being less and less stuff in each episode in order to not overtake the manga, because the One Piece anime refuses to do filler arcs, at least outside of maybe it's like some really short ones. So they just do all this padding because it won't do filler arcs and it won't take breaks, outside of I think earlier this year where it did go on a break literally because it had to, because otherwise it just would have caught up. I think there was also there was a break at some other time. I think COVID caused a break in it. But yeah, that's the basic problem, because that's one of the advantages of series just not having to do one every week. It means you can take breaks and you don't have to do all this stuff. You can have a much better paced series.
Speaking of One Piece, I got my Christmas present today. I got it so I can have it later.
I was going to ask if you got it 9 months late or 3 months early.
Yeah. So obviously I'm not opening it up yet, but it's the One Piece ship, Lego ship. So it looks pretty cool. Oh. It's based on the One Piece live action, which I think there's like a rule that it had to be based on the Netflix series and it couldn't be based on the anime. Not that it matters, but I just think there was like a restriction there, and they had to make sure. That's why every time you see the word One Piece, it has Netflix above it. So, yeah. They just had to get their licensing completely right, or else who knows what would happen.
By the way, in case you're people were wondering, I decided to look to see how much this episode adapted. It's it adapted part of one chapter and part of another chapter, and when you combine them, it comes to about 3/4 of a chapter. Yeah, everyone, if you ever like get annoyed about there being a gap between seasons, I mean, if it's a really long gap, I can understand it, but a lot of times that the gaps for like My Hero Academia or whatever, that prevents what we deal with in One Piece.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, so we've gotten through that. And that clears out the Toonami series. Let's move on to the series we've been checking that are not airing on Toonami, which is Yu Yu Hakusho episode 70. All right, so the other characters end up going to the place where Yusuke was, but then they get told by the antagonist, "Oh yeah, we've totally replaced one of you with an imposter." So they end up and then they tell Yusuke, yeah, you have to basically now punch whichever one you think it is, because the only way to get them to revert back is to punch them as hard as you can. So after doing a bunch of stuff trying to figure out who it is, only to then discover, no, the imposter can just can just mimic you perfectly in all these ways. Yusuke punches Kuwabara because he really just says, well, I figured he's the one best equipped for that because I punch him a lot. So that he gets that right. Then it turns out that, oh no, the guys who did all of this stuff, they were actually students of Genkai, and Genkai set the whole thing up to basically test them, which is unfortunately kind of spoiled by the fact that the episode title is Genkai's Ruse. So yeah, then Genkai mentions, yeah, so a bunch of people now have these special powers that these guys have, and that's a problem. And also someone's trying to open a portal between the demon world and the human world, and that's bad. So we need all of you guys to work together to deal with it.
Yeah, so you finished with that,
Yeah.
or is there more?
I think I covered everything.
Okay, so yeah, so the whole Genkai's Ruse thing, that was really stupid. Because I'm like, okay, we know Genkai's gonna show up at some point in this episode, and it's a ruse, so obviously something's not right, and so they did all this work of stealing their souls just to warn them that they're going to need to work together to defeat the demon world thing. Okay, I think you could do a lot better than stealing people's souls for this purpose. I'll admit, whenever they did the thing, one of them is fake. I kept vacillating between Kurabara or Botan, and I kept thinking, okay, it's got to be Kurabara. It's got to be Kurabara. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Maybe that's what they want me to think. So maybe it's Botan because she's the only girl there, and that would be the one, because I knew it wasn't the other two for sure. I knew for sure it wasn't them. So I'm going back and forth between them, and then finally, whenever Yusuke punches Kuwabara, I'm like, yeah, I should have known that from the beginning, but I was hedging my bets there. So I hedged my bets. It was Kuwabara after all. And oh yeah, what was the point of those stupid things they spent like 5 minutes on? They spent 5 minutes about these patches that they put on so they know each other, how they're doing. Well, now it's over with. So why did we waste all that time on those badges? Are they gonna be used later, or was that just a one-time thing?
I can't remember if they're used later. So I don't know about that. I will say at least in this episode they got some use out of it in that there were like some jokes they made with it. So there was that, but other than that, unfortunately, I can't say whether they're used later or not. I just don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I I dimly feel like I remember them being used later, but I can't be sure. It's been so long since I've seen this arc, and the stuff I have the most of the things I have the most vivid memories of are this part at the beginning and this one later part, and most of the rest of it I don't remember because it's been so long. So I don't know. I feel like it was mentioned at some point, but I cannot remember for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something I was thinking. Yeah, well, they spent all that time, but then it didn't matter here. So, like I said, maybe it ends up paying off. Maybe it doesn't. What were those? Hang on, maybe I can look it up. I'm kind of curious now. But what were they called? Let me see if I can find that. Dang it, I can't remember what they're called. I was going to look at like the wiki, which the series aired a while.
Look up this episode on the wiki and then see what they were called in this. It doesn't
say. It just only gives like a several sentence summary. The problem with Yu Hakusho is that since the series aired so long ago, a lot of these series they don't have that much stuff on like the wiki. If this was airing now, it would probably have all this information, but it's but not as many people are doing it here. It's so yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Maybe I should make a little note of it so that at the end of the arc we can see let's see Okay, I just made a note. Then at the end of this arc, when we get to it, how long is this arc? There's a lot of episodes in this. It looks like we've only got about 24 episodes, so we won't be here by the end of the year probably then. But anyway, yeah, we don't. I guess we'll see, but I don't know. Okay, but I thought on the episode, I thought there was some pretty fun stuff. There are a bunch of good jokes. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the jokes too. I thought it was pretty humorous. So yeah, it was pretty funny. I liked this episode.
Okay. Right. So now that we get into that, we get into Anne Shirley episode 14. Okay, so basically in this episode, they meet this woman who's living at this house, this kind of older one, and we basically find out, oh, hey, one of her, and they spend a bunch of time with her and, kind of friends. We find out that one of Anne's students is apparently the son of this guy that she used to be in this romantic relationship with, but they sort of split apart. So he left her and married some other person who died in the meantime. And then they end up meeting again. And I guess they fall in love again. So that's all good and stuff for them. And that is that's the main stuff in the episode.
Yeah. This episode was especially lacking and pretty boring. Yeah, I don't really feel like there's a lot to talk about. It was a pretty boring episode, and Yeah. It
Yeah.
feels like it's gone down in quality ever since Matthew died.
I've been thinking that also because that's about where the first book ended. I mean, not right at that point. They had like I think another episode or two that covered the book. But now that we're in the second book, it's less interesting. Now I don't know if that's because the second book is less interesting, or possibly because they are rushing the heck through it. Let me just put it this way. So I know that the next episode, that's the end of the second book. So, putting in perspective, the first 10 episodes covered the first book. Then they're spending 5 episodes on the second book. So they are really going through that quickly. That might explain why Davey feels like kind of an annoying character because they had to skip over a bunch of stuff. I know I apparently got more focus in the book, and maybe that would have made me like him more if we had that. But because of the sort of rushing through stuff, a lot of stuff got skipped over. Maybe some of this stuff was more interesting. And so I don't know if maybe the second book is considered worse or if they had to rush through a lot of stuff that made it so that things were less interesting as a result. On a more positive note, it means that the third book, because it's covering the first 3 books, is going to have 9 episodes devoted to it. So hopefully that'll be better pacing and more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So yeah, but it did feel like we just kind of suddenly introduced this character and suddenly it's totally focusing on them. And again, I don't know, maybe there was better setup, maybe spending more time made it more interesting. I just know that this one is definitely going through the book very, very quickly compared to the first book, which already was kind of at a brisk pace, but this one's really fast.
Mm.
So that I think might be why it's less interesting. But hopefully for the third one, since it's pretty obvious that the writers are less interested in the second book, which is why they're just going past it and want to get to the third, which they'll have more focus on. But yeah, so not really a great episode, unfortunately. It was okay. I didn't dislike it, but it was just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So after this, we have episode 14 of Uron Mirage. Go ahead.
Yeah, so whenever I saw this episode, I thought that Crunchyroll had made a mistake, and I was trying to figure it out, and so I jumped ahead in the episode to the point where I saw Nico watching this episode, and I'm like, okay, so this really is the real episode. And yeah, so the first half of this episode is just an in-universe anime that Nico and the others watch, and I'm so confused why this was here. Second half of the episode was a fangirl thing about that teacher who loves her students' manga and becomes the first person to comment on it, and then she figures out it's her. And yeah, when this episode was finished, I was wondering when we were going to get to watch some Witch Watch, and we didn't really see any Witch Watch this week. So there you go.
So my opinions on this episode are a little complicated because I thought both of these parts of the episode were pretty good. I actually really liked the whole part where it just became this episode of this in-universe anime or manga called Uron Mirage. I really liked that. They went all out with it. They straight up made like an opening song for it and things, which by the way is actually a better opening than the current opening for the show. But so that was great. There were some really funny jokes. The whole thing's obviously kind of like this spoof of shonen series. I like that. And the second part I didn't like quite as much, but it was still fun. The issue I have is that they put them together into this episode. Which makes it so that basically we see the main characters for maybe 1 minute at most, and that's it. So I think this would have worked better if they had what I wish they had done is this second part. What if that had been the last segment of the previous episode? So you would have seen that and you would have and it would have also reminded you of Uron Mirage because it hasn't been mentioned in a while. So you'll see that, and then you'll come to this episode. You'll see the Uron Mirage thing, and you'll immediately say, "Oh, I get it. It's an episode of the anime that they mentioned in the series." And then that could be all very funny. And then the second half of the episode would just be about the regular main characters. So you'd actually get a good chunk of them. I think if they had done it in that order instead, it would have worked out better. So it's a little weird for me because I thought both of the parts of this episode were decent, especially the first one, which is just such a good troll joke. I have to respect it. But putting them both in the same episode, I think, was a mistake.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it too much. I know they were trying to make a joke out of it, but kind of fell flat for me. So I was just like, okay, why are they doing this? And what was this a way of just filler? A type of filler by using this episode.
The Uron Mirage thing, that was in the manga. They dedicated a chapter of the manga to being like a chapter of Uron Mirage. That was like the whole joke. You just see this thing that's this chapter of the manga. So then for the anime, they just did the same thing, but had it be an episode of the anime adaptation instead of it being like the manga of it. All the stuff you see here, that's from that manga chapter.
Okay.
I just thought that was really funny, but like I said, my only issue, it's annoying to me because I like the two parts. I just don't think they should have been in the same episode. That's my issue with it. Okay, but like I said, I got to give them credit. They went all out on the whole parody, original opening and endings. The animation for it was, pretty decent for like the action stuff, pretty decent for, what's normally a comedy series. So that's why my thoughts on it are so complicated. I like them, but I just don't like that they're in the same episode. That's the issue for me. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to My Hero Academia Vigilantes episodes 12 and 13. We're at the end of the series, the end of this season, I guess. We'll get another season later. All right, so we do get some clarification on what was going on with Knuckle Duster, and I can't remember her name. Basically, we find out, she's his daughter, who basically they got into an argument which made her leave. Then you find out that but she's being controlled by the bees, basically. We find out the whole, bee thing, that's not her quirk. That's just the quirk, I guess, of the bees, which can then essentially possess someone. So he wanted to find her in order to get the bee stuff out of her to save her. And after a bunch of fighting, he's able to do it due to basically being what you might say Batman levels of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, here's all this stuff. Okay, I did this thing to make it so that to protect me against electricity, which was actually not but then she has an electricity quirk, I guess, which he didn't know about, but that was actually for thing. And then he's able to use that against her and get the bees out and keep her around, all this stuff. Meanwhile, they have the concert thing, which I'm actually very surprised they don't. I was thinking that the plots were going to intersect somehow, like the bee girl would launch some attack on that or something. But no, all that really happens there is that they need to wait around for some generators to be able to set everything up again. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff with, so that managed to work out, and then we just kind of get to wrap up, and it's not exactly clear what happened to Knuckle Duster. He just apparently kind of disappeared. So, for the record, I do know we'll see him again. I looked it up, so I guess maybe that's a small spoiler. But yeah, he's not out of the series yet, in case you were wondering. And then everyone just is like, yep, okay, well, it feels weird because it feels like they just didn't have a great part to end the season, so they just kind of had to find a spot and just ended it sort of here.
Yeah. I kept thinking it was gonna be like a big battle at the whole concert thing, and it was like it wasn't. And yeah, I couldn't figure out whether Knuckle Duster was dead or not, but whenever you said this isn't the last season, then I'm like, okay, there's no way he could be dead, because how would you do another season without him? I mean, he's the main man of this season. And yeah, I I didn't care too much for Pop Step So or the other girls who were performing or all of that. I had no idea why Koichi just got up there and said, okay, I'm going to start performing. That made no sense at all to me. Like, shouldn't we have known about his talent if he was actually like pretty good at this? Yeah, so yeah, just really haphazard 2 episodes here. And yeah, just really bizarre place to end the season. I'm glad it's only a season and it's not multiple seasons, but yeah, I didn't really care too much for these episodes.
Yeah, my problem was the way the two plots just had almost no interaction with each other. I'm kind of surprised they didn't, have Pop Step and Koichi, help Knuckle Duster in some way with this fight. That could have been a little cool, but instead it's just completely focused on just him while they're off doing this other and less interesting thing. So there was not enough integration of them. So as a result, we kind of ended up with one story, Knuckle Dusters, which was pretty interesting, and then a less interesting story with the other two. So it's like we had, I mean, if we've got 2 episodes and one of them is half good and the other, and each of them is about half good and the other one is not as good, does that equal to one good episode and one not as good episode? But yeah, I will say that one pretty funny line was at the concert where I can't remember. I wrote the line down. I can't remember when someone said. I don't know if it was after the actual song or whether after Koichi had to go up and do things, but someone just says, yeah, that didn't suck. So
I think
yeah,
it kind of did suck. I think it kind of did suck. So yeah. Yeah, and like if they were gonna do this, they should have just gone all out and like had Pop Step perform a whole song, like do it like some of these other shows that like Haruhi Suzumiya type of thing, we're just gonna have a concert here in and we're gonna have an all out song. And then I hate that they have them sing in Japanese. That's just stupid. It's like if you can't get a voice actress to be able to sing in English. Like it doesn't make sense. They just suddenly jump over to Japanese and yeah, it just it doesn't work for me. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like the thing they do with anime now. They like pretty much never dub songs when that used to be much more common. They like what was trying to think of the last anime I saw that actually dubbed like in a song in the series. Was it? Oh man, was it actually One Piece where they sang Binks's Brew? Was that
That
actually it?
might have been it.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly. For all I know, it might be some sort of legal thing where if they have someone sing, you're supposed to use the original song. So I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't necessarily mind it that much. Well, I guess my problem, I guess, is when they do it and then they just have so much of the song that the plot basically just stops so you can have the song. And
Mhm.
that's where my problem occurs, where you just sort of stop the plot, have a song, and it just makes me think, okay, so when are we going to get back to the other stuff? Like it's fine, obviously, you do that like for the opening and ending, but in the actual
Mhm.
show, it becomes much more tedious to wait through.
Yeah.
Although I think the one that annoyed me the most was, remember that rapping episode of Kaguya-sama? They like dubbed and like translated all the rap stuff, and then there's that brief bit where Kaguya actually sings, and they kept that in Japanese for some reason. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, that was like what, like 30 seconds? You could have just had the other person sing that and translate it. You translate it, you had to figure out how to make everything else rhyme.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're already putting through all that effort, you might as well. I mean, at least with you can like say, okay, they don't dub the song because not only do you have to, have someone sing it, you have to actually go through the process of figuring out of translating all of the things, which is a lot harder when you need to fit the meter and the verse and all that stuff. But they're always thinking, I mean, you did it for the rest of it. Just why not have that one part in Kaguya-sama be actually dubbed? Anyway.
Mhm.
So we had that. So yeah, so that was it. So what were your thoughts on My Hero Academia Vigilantes then, on the whole?
Um, I thought it was better than I expected. Um, I expected it to be more like the original show, and fortunately, it wasn't. It was a lot different in tone from the original show, which I was never a big My Hero Academia fan. And this show kind of twisted the plot so it was actually more interesting, I thought, and kept expecting that All Might was going to show up at some point to be the big hero of the show, and kind of glad he didn't show up, because um, it made this show more of its own thing. Um, it was better than what I expected. Doesn't mean it was great. I'm still confused about what Pop Step's purpose really is, other than to be a love interest for Koichi. Um, because she has this quirk, but she never really uses it for anything except concerts. So, um, yeah. So I'd say it was pretty good. It was better than I expected. That's what.
Yeah, and I might as well mention, I think we'll probably, this was one season, looking at it, they covered 5 volumes in this, and the series is 15 volumes long. So at this rate, we should have the whole story told in 3 seasons.
Okay.
So Yeah, this is nowhere near as long as My Hero Academia. How long did that one go on for? Let me double check on that quick. The manga lasted, trying to look it up, but my internet's being slow. It lasted, oh wow, it wasn't as long as I thought. It was 42 volumes. I thought it was like 50 or something. But no, 42, still kind of long. So yeah, I think it was decent. You kind of decided you wanted to watch it after we sort of dropped it from our bracket thing, but then you decided. But I was like, okay, I guess I'll go along. Why not? So yeah, it was a decent show. It wasn't a mistake to keep going with it or anything. So yeah, it was interesting to see. I do definitely think, though, the series has the issue that Knuckle Duster is easily the best character, and Pop Step is just the least interesting of the main three by a considerable margin. It really just feels like she's there just because they needed a female lead, because her plots just aren't that interesting to me. Like I said, the female who gets introduced midway through, Makoto, was that her name? Yeah, I found her more interesting, so maybe she'll have a bigger role going forward. All right, and that'll leave it off for My Hero Academia Vigilantes for now. I guess I'll just mention going forward, because we're done with this now. For next week, we'll be watching 2 episodes of Anne Shirley and 2 episodes of Witch Watch. Right. We'll be doing that for a few weeks until we bring in another show. But for now, 2 episodes of Anne Shirley, 2 episodes of Witch Watch for next week. And, of course, 1 Yu Hakusho episode. All right. So I guess we've gotten through all of that. Let's give our top picks before we forget.
Yeah. My top Toonami episode was Blue Exorcist. My top non-Toonami was Yu Hakusho. My best girl of the week was Ayase. Ayase. Oh, I can't pronounce that name. Ayase from Dandadan.
I think it was Aisha. Was that it?
I can't pronounce that name.
Let me double check. Yeah, what was her name? Oh wait, I'm looking.
Momo. That's who I'm talking about.
It's Momo. Okay, I thought you were talking about
her last name.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the girl that was the pink haired girl in this episode. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
Momo. Okay. That's who I meant.
Yeah, that's.
I was using her other name.
Okay. Well, it got me confused because I remembered the other girl that was introduced, Aisha, and I thought you were trying to remember that when you were saying Ayashe, but that was Momo's other name. Okay, that all makes sense now. It has a problem that their names were kind of similar, and I thought you were missaying the other one. Well, anyway, moving on. Right. So, for me, I think the best of the Toonami series was. It's actually a kind of close call. I guess I'll give a little narrow win to Dandadan for this one. And for the non-Toonami series, I'll agree. I'll also give it to Yu Hakusho. And I think that's it. Did you have anything else to talk about?
Still watching Bleach. In the middle of that Zanpakuto arc, we're at the point where Byakuya has joined the Zanpakutos in their rebellion, and he's on their side, and old man Yamamoto's captured by them, and now they got to try to save him, and that's where we're at. I think this arc isn't nearly as bad as I remember it being. I thought it was terrible the first time I watched it. This time I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, this isn't that bad. So I'm glad it's improved. My opinion has improved. There's no way it could have improved. Like they redid it in the time that I watched it the first time, and they changed it just so I would like it more the second time I watched it. Yeah. Um, yeah, so but it is filler, so what do you expect, you know? Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue with filler. It's sometimes I the problem nowadays is that since if stuff is filler, well, especially because I generally tell you if it's filler. I've been wondering if maybe if something's not filler, I shouldn't even well, the problem is there aren't really filler arcs anymore. Even One Piece hasn't really done them, but that's the unfortunate issue with filler because as soon as it's on, you just know, well, this isn't really going to matter too much. So I'm remembering back in the day when I had no idea what filler even was, so it gave you more interest in watching these things because you didn't know, oh hey, this episode that's all about one they're on Namek, that's all about one of the Dragon Balls falling into the water and Bulma has to go and get it, but it's been eaten by a clam. She has to get it from there. Hey, Goku's spaceship on the way to Namek needs to have some repairs done, and so he has to go outside and try to fix it. Episodes like that, I never realized those were just totally filler episodes. So I didn't even realize there was anything there. That none of them mattered.
Like Goku getting his driver's license.
Well, that's one that should have kept in Kai.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen that one. We'll have to go back and watch Dragon Ball Z someday just so we can watch. We should watch only the filler episodes. like skip all the episodes where stuff actually happened and just go with only filler. And make sure we watch the episodes where it takes 5 episodes to charge the spirit bomb and stuff, Yeah,
well, Dragon Ball both did filler as in full episodes that just didn't matter, as well as padding where they didn't really introduce a new plot, but they just had stuff take longer. I always remember when I watched the show originally, there was this thing that would keep happening where someone would throw some energy blast at someone and the other person would run away from it. Not sidestep it. They just run straight away from it. So of course it would just catch up on them and hit them. And I was like, that's really stupid. This series does that a bunch. And then they never did it on Dragon Ball Z Kai. And I realized, it's because that stuff was just, padding to the fight.
Mm.
All right, I guess that's everything then. So I don't think I have anything to add, but we'll be here once again next week with the Toonami stuff and the non-Toonami stuff. Once again, if anyone's watching along with us, I have no idea if anyone is. Maybe people just listen to us and don't bother, but we will be having 2 episodes of Anne Shirley and 2 episodes of Witch Watch next week. And without further ado, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Ninjutsu, the art of stealth and perseverance. To follow this path, one must be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Ready. But the way is treacherous. Some will succeed, some will fail. But only one will rule the school. Naruto, 1 hour premiere Saturday, September 10th at 9. No guts, no glory. Only Toonami.